ZombieTech. Welcome to ZombieTech, a forum for engineers, scientists, and inventors to ponder on the technologies needed to survive the inevitable zombie apocalypse.
She's Addie.
And he's Whisker.
And this week, I think we have somebody who's long overdue for the show.
Very long overdue, like since the beginning of time, long overdue.
Yes, one of our very, very first buddies on Twitter and YouTube.
It's true.
Yes, Alan Yates.
Hi, Alan.
Hi everyone.
Welcome to the U.S.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we had to wait until you came here before we would get you on ZombieTech, I guess. Something like that.
It's been a while. I've always wanted to come on, but time's never met up, and it's great that we finally got this chance to do it.
I know. So, are you excited? I mean, because I know you're going to be working at Valve, and you're going to be working with all these crazy Twitter folks that we know, like Jerry, Ben, and Tanyo, and
others.
And like a bajillion others, so it's going to be like one big hack fest every day with like Mountain Dew and pizza.
From what I've seen, that everything that you hear about it is true. It took me a long time to come around to that, and I always thought, that's just marketing, whatever. But when you get here and you see the people, that's pretty much what it's like. Yeah, it's an extraordinary and unique place. I can't wait. But the one thing that does worry me, of course, is the Seattle weather. I'm being used to Sydney. I don't know how it's going to go with it being grey, and particularly when it goes, 3 or 5 hours of sunlight a day during winter. I'm not looking forward to that.
You could do like the Portland thing and have a whole bunch of grow lights in your house, plant a few plants, make a little extra side dough. I mean,
No, I was actually thinking about doing a light adjunct kind of thing where I can have a fake sunrise on something like 12 hours a day or something to try and keep me all happy during the winter.
Right. You could even sync it up with Sydney local time and just sort of shift yourself slowly around the clock a bit.
That might work.
Yeah. So far, I haven't had too much problem with jet lag coming here. I just sort of stay up until normal bedtime around here, which is more like 1 o'clock. It doesn't get dark until really late. Sunset here is about 9:30, almost 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a bit different to me. I mean, that's fine for me because I'm kind of a night owl. I'm a bit of a vampire, I operate nighttime and tend to sleep in the daytime if my job will let me get away with it.
Yeah.
So, I think I'll probably get used to that part of it. But I do worry about not seeing light for so long and, going a bit nuts.
I'll send you a light bulb. It'll be a housewarming present.
Oh, thank you.
You bet.
So I don't know if it was last week or the week before you were saying that you're having a little bit of a hard time with some of the local, the way we say things and the way
traffic?
We do things and traffic and all that sort of thing. Have you warmed up to it at all?
It's a little bit of a culture shock, I'll be honest. I guess the biggest thing obviously is all traffic is on the opposite side of the road.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
You got to be careful.
Yeah, got to be careful. You got to remember to look the other way. You get used to it though pretty quickly. It's funny. I'm not a driver anyway, so far I'm planning on hoping. Well, I hope I don't have to drive at all. So far I've found an apartment quite close.
Okay.
So I'll be able to walk all around the Bellevue area, which is really cool. So I should be able to get away without having to drive. Besides, I have to learn to drive first. So that's a long story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, living in a town like Sydney, you really don't need to.
I forgot that they're like backwards. Or that.
Yeah.
I mean, or that we're backwards. I mean, I want to try to be equal opportunity here as to.
I had a friend that I used to work with from London, and we'd fly him out every so often. And man, the first couple.
Was his mind blown every single time?
Well, riding in a car was really difficult for him when he was in the front seat. He was usually okay when he was in the back, but it was very confusing for him to be on the wrong side of the car. But when he was walking, I had to always, for the first week or so, I had to pay really close attention when we were walking around, because otherwise he'd, just walk out to the street because he'd be looking the wrong way for cars.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Alan, please
it's dangerous.
be careful.
Be careful.
Yeah. No, I've experienced that myself. When you come to a crossing, you look the wrong way, and then you realize, I should really be paying attention to the other direction. But I'll say that, actually, most people here are quite polite. like I'm used to LA, where in
Oh,
Boston in particular, which is
I
pretty bad
get
for
it.
pedestrians in Boston. But
Yeah.
here it's been really nice. I mean, I've seen people cut people off and get a wave rather than, it's a bit unusual. Even in Sydney, I mean, the drivers there aren't as polite as they are here.
Wow.
Yeah, well, the
Must be the
Northwest is
Northwest.
pretty mellow,
Because
you
the
know.
East Coast is psychotic.
They've legalized certain substances in certain contexts that help chill everybody out a bit, I think.
So, like, do you know what projects, like, can we get, like, a sneak peek into a potential project you might be working on?
Unfortunately, I can't tell you about that.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm not
curse,
surprised at
curse the
all there.
NDA wall.
Yeah.
Dang it. All right, well, I tried. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
with that said, though, Alan has worked on a lot of cool projects that we've been following for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Lots of ham stuff. Of course, Addie's been following that pretty closely because she's a ham now. I
Woohoo!
think Alan was actually one of the people who inspired her to do that.
Yeah. One of my Elmers.
Oh,
It's true. It's
I'm happy
true.
to hear that. Well, I have to get my call. I have to get my call here in the
So,
US now.
yeah, I was actually wondering, like, are you gonna get your call in the U.S.? Like, is that how that works? I actually don't even know how it works in that manner. But like, or are you gonna? Can you keep operating with your old one?
Only for a limited period of time. I'm not actually sure if there is an official period. I haven't gone online and checked out the regs yet.
Okay.
So I can operate as, W7/VK2ZAY for a while. But once I get here, I can just, from what I understand, I just do the theory and the regs and pass the tests, and it's just like getting my call sign all over again in Australia.
Oh, it'll be
So
really easy.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll have no
Like
problem getting extra
super
class
ridiculously easy.
here. Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm not quite sure how all the licensing works here. Obviously, Mighty Ohm is a ham, and I spoke to him about it, and it sounds pretty easy.
It's
yeah.
pretty straightforward. You go and you just take the test that you want to class, to have that.
All of the tests are already online.
I don't even think you have to take like all three of them. You can just take the extra, just walk in, take the extra, and you're done.
Yeah.
That I don't know.
I think so. That's what Brainwagon was saying.
Oh.
So
Okay. Yeah. Mighty Ohm recommended that I take them all and just see which ones I pass.
Oh yeah.
yeah, obviously it doesn't really cost very much to just go there and take them all in one go.
Mm. Yeah, I'll have to study the regs because I'm sure that's different everywhere. I mean, there are some ITU basic stuff that's in all countries' regs, but there's probably some local reg stuff that I have to do. I should be okay with the theory, I think, but I'll definitely get one of those study guides and see what it's like.
Sure.
Yeah,
It's not like in the old days.
it's not like the RF behaves any different over here.
No, indeed. From what I understand, back in the day, like a fair while ago, when it wasn't multiple choice, it was all written essays, and it was a much more subjective test. Where,
Yeah.
now it's multi-choice, and sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah, like I said, all the answers are online, so it's all you have to do is like take the test like a few times, and you've pretty much memorized, plus all your knowledge that you already know, then you'll be good to go.
And it'll be really useful if like zombies take over the country, because then you can get in contact with us pretty easy.
Yep.
Emergency comms, definitely one of the great things about being an amateur. Just having the equipment ready, although I suppose I should put it in a tin box or something in case there's an EMP.
True. Yes. Nice. Was a Faraday cage? Is that what? Would that prevent it? A Faraday cage, would that prevent like EMP?
EMP, yeah.
Yeah,
effective.
it should.
In other words,
there's obviously some frequency, where it'll penetrate, but the really low frequencies are fairly penetrating. But in reality, it'll probably be fine. I'd say, if the antenna's unscrewed, most things will probably be fine. But it depends.
So here's a technical question. If it's a low enough frequency to actually get through a Faraday cage, is it going to be too long of a wave to actually find anything resonant inside of a piece of electronics to resonate enough along the traces to cause a problem?
That's a very good question. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, a nuclear generated EMP normally huge amplitude, but really low frequencies it could actually penetrate the cage or shielding or something. They're probably not going to couple very efficiently into a small device like a handheld.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, really high frequencies, of course, could get through the holes in the Faraday cage if it's made out of mesh or something. So yeah, there's obviously a range over which it's going to protect the equipment inside, but you'd have to do a bit of maths. And again, if you're directly near a nuke going off, that's the least of your problems.
Well,
But
I don't know. You've got a workshop right there, so later tonight
yeah,
if you get bored, you could do the math, or you could just like point some EMPs around the lab.
Good idea. I.e.,
mm,
not so. And actually, I'm kind of surprised. Well, a little surprised because you're here on a visa, like a short-term visa.
yeah,
And I think we were talking before, for those who don't, who obviously weren't here, but we were talking before about his visa getting processed. Now, do the people here know that you do like fireworks, like high voltage, like
I don't think you
radioactivity?
tend to put that on the application.
no,
I mean,
no,
they're letting you in pretty easy, I think.
yeah. I've actually not had any problems getting in, which surprised me, particularly with some of the stuff that I carry, because I carry like passive aircraft band receiver with me on all flights that I get on. The only place that I was ever asked anything about it was in Boston, and
uh,
I just said that I'm a geek, and they were cool with it. So,
yeah,
but yeah, things have definitely calmed down quite a bit since the height of the 9/11 thing.
right.
Even in Australia, for example, they took away all the garbage bins on public transport, just as one random thing that happened, and they've brought them back in the last month or two. So yeah, I
What are you
guess
gonna do with a garbage bin?
I think they were worried about people putting bombs on in the garbage bin, like you just have a
Oh,
package, throw it away, and then you can get off the say a ferry or a bus or something, and then have it explode sometime later. So
I
you don't
see.
even have to do a
I
suicide.
see. I see. Gotcha. Okay, so right. I have a few questions.
Just a few.
Well,
Now
actually I have a
we
lot.
put out some feelers there and
Yeah.
just asked if anybody might have any questions for Alan, and like everybody had like 12.
Right. And it's funny because usually when I ask people, everyone just starts making jokes, and like or like not even paying attention. So, a testament to your awesomeness. So how did you end up getting started with electronics? And for anybody who doesn't know, Alan does like hardware, software, like I mentioned before, high voltage, radioactivity sensors,
Pyrotechnics.
crazy 555 calculators, pyrotechnics, like chemistry stuff, ham radios. I mean, anything that's awesome, he pretty much is an expert at. So, like, how did that all get started?
How'd that all get started? I don't know. I guess I was just born a geek. When I was quite young, I guess I was 3 or 4 maybe. My dad brought home like a lantern cell and some alligator clip leads and a light bulb. He
Okay.
got them from Tandy's, which is kind of like RS in Australia. And I guess that's what kind of got me interested in electronics. And I had like the 200-in-1 lab electronic kit thing that I think Jerry and a lot of other people had as kids. And I know she's got hers here. I've seen it up on her work area.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I played with that. And I was always interested, like most young boys, in blowing stuff up. So fireworks was kind of a natural thing. And I was always really good at chemistry in school. So that kind of went hand in hand.
Ah,
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Yeah, I'm just interested in everything and anything, and it's just kind of my nature to. I always used to pull stuff apart. No clock or radio was safe in the house. I'd always go and pull it to pieces, and some of them I actually managed to put back together, and they still work. So
nice.
yeah,
So it's like equal opportunity learning. You're just like, well, I feel like, I don't know, finding Higgs boson today, so I'll make like a DIY Hadron Collider or whatever. Is that about
yeah,
right?
yeah. I'll have a go at anything. I know there's some stuff that you just can't do, unfortunately, because of scale. The Large Hadron Collider comes to mind. That's how many miles around? That's quite an expensive machine.
Minor detail, Alan.
Yeah. 25% of the world's helium or something they have on site. It's quite
Oh
an
my
extraordinary
gosh,
machine.
really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa,
Which
that's
helium?
crazy.
Helium 3?
No, helium-4. Yeah, that's just for cooling the magnets.
Holy
I
buckets.
was going to
I
say.
imagine they've got quite a lot of helium-3 too for the detectors. But
Yeah. That's
Wow.
pretty rare too.
yeah. Yeah.
So then, your formal training was in electric engineering or electronics, sorry, electronic engineering. And then for work back in Australia, you did software, right? Or
Yeah, I was
both?
a software engineer most of my life.
Okay.
When I was in uni, I was doing electrical engineering. I I wanted to be a lot of different things when I was, I was a young kid, and then I sort of settled on electrical stuff, and I went to uni for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then the internet kind of happened. This was in the, I guess, late 90s, around the turn of the century. So, yeah, I thought, okay, cool, this is pretty easy. And so I became an ISP for a while, and sold people internet access for many years. But that kind of got boring and not terribly profitable as the bigger operations moved in.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to do more and more software stuff. So I got involved in making web stuff because web was pretty hot. So if there's something I could integrate to the web or do websites, I got into the web thing in a big way and spent many years being a web developer.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of one thing led to another, and I kind of got sick of doing web stuff and decided to look more back at engineering. I mean, all along I've always been doing my geeky projects at home, but I was primarily a programmer.
Mm-hmm.
More of a back end developer than a front end HTML CSS guy. But yeah, I'd have a go at anything. I mean, it's all engineering, whatever it is. Well, chemistry, electronics, physics. It's all the same to me.
Sure. Now, I've always wanted to know, but like given your like bajillion number of projects, is there any project or field or area of expertise that intimidates you? Like that you've tried and it's like, yeah, I'm just going to back up from this.
I wish I was better at maths, I guess.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a reasonable working knowledge of mathematics, but I'm definitely not a mathematician per se, and it kind of annoys me when I go to do DSP projects and things like that. Yeah, I find that a bit intimidating. I mean, it's not that bad once you actually get into it, and you can progress in small leaps and bounds to different bits of the system as you go along. It's not too bad, but
Sure.
I mean, there's some nasty stuff that hydrofluoric acid and really concentrated acids that worry me a little bit when I use them.
But you still use them.
Yeah. I mean, radioactivity doesn't really worry me too much.
Okay.
I mean, I've never had any particularly nasty, really, really hot sources or anything like that. But no, I mean, it's just a matter of research, and doing a little bit of math beforehand to kind of work out how likely you are to kill yourself and what you should be a bit aware of. But
sure.
Yeah, nothing really phases me that much.
Okay. So then, do you have any projects that are, like on the back burner for the moment, or have always been on the back burner for a little bit because there's maybe a part of it that you haven't been able to get right?
Yeah, there's a fair few of those. My list of things to do will probably be, well, I don't think I'll ever complete it given enough, lifespan to do them all. There's many things that I've wanted to do. I want to do some, radio astronomy that I just don't physically have the space to do. And I'm hoping maybe that I'll get some acreage out here in America and set up an antenna array to do that.
Sure.
There's other projects that have been limited by, I mean, there's a lot of things with pyrotechnics that I've never been able to have the space to do some of the larger stuff. I was always a bit of a micro guy doing that sort of safe and sane style things. But I've always wanted to try high power rocketry, and I understand that's something you can actually do. It was very difficult to do that in Australia, but it seems quite a lot easier to do here.
Welcome to the States.
Yeah. So what they say, with the freedoms and stuff in America, it seems to be pretty true. There seems to be a lot more people interested in that. I mean, it's very niche in Australia, all of these different kind of fringe activities, whereas here, I think just because there's so many more people, you're about 250, 280 million, something like that.
At least, yeah. At least,
so you've got what would be a market that, just couldn't be supported in Australia is something here that's at least relatively common. So
there's a long history with that here too. A lot of the baby boomers would have grown up building little rockets with their dads, because NASA and astronauts and Apollo and all that was going on when they were kids. So there's that well established. The biggest power base in this country are the baby boomers, and if they grew up doing it, by golly, it's going to be legal.
Well, they're the
Well,
ones.
I hope you don't lose that. I mean, I know your economy's not the best it's been at the moment,
Yeah.
but
Depends
I'm
on where you
sure.
are.
I mean, yeah, obviously this area where I am here is quite wealthy, and I see that, and you don't have to travel very far to see some really nasty poverty too. So
Hmm.
that's a little bit scary. But America, you can definitely come back. I'm confident of it.
Sure. Well, I mean, so as long as you get a bit of acreage, which I see, this is difficult because I'd say move out to the Midwest. We have plenty of it, But then at the
Well,
same
they have
time,
some
Valve
out that
is
way
like,
too,
I don't
on
think you'd be able to
more
work
on the
with
eastern
Valve.
side of the state that he's going to be living in. They've got quite a bit of land out there, so
I don't know that area
Yeah.
too well, but obviously you wouldn't be in the city.
mountains may not be the best for big antenna arrays. I don't know.
Oh, they're
Yeah,
okay.
no,
Just go. Can't you just go to the peak?
I suppose. No.
Easy
I
enough.
like a nice flat area, though, I suppose.
Addie's eyes
don't
are
have a-
sparkling as she's picturing antenna arrays built on peak after peak.
Well, yeah, because you're just doing like moon bounce and meteor, meteor scatter and
Yeah, That would be awesome. That's all the stuff that I've wanted to try, but I've been, stuck in a home unit most of my life, so it's not been, just haven't been able to have the antenna farm that I would like to have for doing that.
sure. I'm gonna have to actually hook you up with my first QSO because my first QSO is someone who actually kind of specializes in it, I guess, like all that moon bounce, meteor scatter propagation, and all that good stuff. So. Yeah, I know. Freaking awesome, right? I was like, you're my
Yeah.
first QSO and you do this type of stuff? Awesome.
It's amazing how useful those guys have made 2 meters.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
as the obvious way to use it is very short distance, but these guys do absolutely crazy stuff with it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, isn't it? Yeah. I'll have to, I guess, first step, learn to drive so I can live far enough out of the city. So one thing at a time, but we'll get there.
Bumper cars. Just go to a theme park, mess around with the bumper cars, right? Try not to bump into anybody. You'll be pretty good. Maybe
Okay,
like
but
Mario
there's
Kart.
people in bumper cars, but I've never actually tried, but
Wait, you've never messed around with bumper cars?
no, never.
What?
I know,
Alan
it's
Yates, you
so-
haven't
oh,
lived all of these
Yeah.
circuits and not even bumper cars. I think you should make your own. Do
my
it.
own bumper car.
Yeah,
Hmm.
dude, totally. I'll go one
I'll
bumper
go.
car. We can do it. Do it. So, okay. Most difficult project you have worked on and what made it hard?
Most difficult project I've worked on. Ooh, I don't know. There's
Eh.
been a few where, there's been a few software ones where the politics has kind of made it difficult.
How about like personal ones? Like,
Personal ones.
Yeah.
Oof.
I think that that 555 adder would have been difficult, not in the how it works, but more in the having to solder all of those joints in 3-dimensional space in a very short period of time. That was
Yeah, it was definitely a project that I kind of tortured myself with. I mean, the advent calendar was kind of like that too, but the 555 adder, yeah, there's a lot of interconnections. I can't remember how many it was. I think I've got the stats on my website, but it's got a lot of solder joints, and yeah, it's all built dead bug, so it took
yeah.
ages. Can't remember how many. It was about a week and a bit of tinkering here and there. Every time I'd come home, rush home from work, and I'd start working on it to hit the deadline. But I got it all working several days before, so
Nice.
it was worth it.
Yeah. So, but that's Whisker's answer.
yeah. Well, yeah, I was just saying that one had to be a little bit trying.
That one was in terms of just in effort, I guess, and not messing up doing the same thing over and over again so many times. But I guess in terms of I don't know, complexity.
Or like even one that you think about it and you're just like, it's over. Like, I don't think I'll go back to it.
The thing with a lot of Alan's designs that I've noticed is that they're usually pretty simple, but they're elegant. They tend to take advantage of some little fact of analog electronics that isn't necessarily usually exploited in that way, but by exploiting it that way, it makes it so that the project can do something very simply that would normally
Require
be done with
more.
like, some sort of overpowered microcontroller or something like that instead.
Right.
Yeah, I think some people would call it cheating, but I try and make things really simple that work. That kind of squeeze the power out of analog, because analog is still generally the cheapest and the lowest power way of doing something,
Right.
especially fairly simple things. Microcontrollers suck power like nothing else, and for a lot of projects you don't need that. You can have something that pulls a couple of tens of microamps and it'll run on 2 AA batteries for years. If you use an analog solution. So a lot of the stuff that I build is along those lines. I like using microcontrollers for their simplicity too, because code is so much easier than I find software, I guess, because I'm a software person by trade. Software is a lot easier than hardware, and you can change it as much as you like, whereas hardware you're kind of fixed with, and you're stuck with it.
Right.
But I try and do the trade-off between that, having a bit of smart hardware and then, software on top of that to do various other functions, kind of at the, kind of application level where you might want to manipulate the data in some way. I like getting data back into digital as fast as possible, but I don't mind having moderately complex analog filtering in front of it, where most people would probably do that nowadays, get into digital as soon as they can and do it all in digital. I guess I'm just old-fashioned.
I like analog. Always have.
Yeah, I like analog. I find it, I do find it harder though. I guess just again because I'm not that great at mathematics, but
I toss the math out.
At the end of the day, I mean,
that looks about right.
At the end of the day, digital is just sort of a fib that we tell ourselves anyway. It's all analog down there at the lowest levels. And I always looked at hardware that way to a certain extent, and software as well. It's all machine code at some level. And when you wrap your head around that, the higher levels of it all make much more sense. If you understand how the analog works, the digital makes more sense to you.
Everything is analog. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I found that out. Well, I mean, I've done that for years, but today I was fiddling with a USB programmer. I bought my programmer and laptop and software, etc., along with me, because I was doing a project to log the cosmic ray flux as I fly in the aircraft above most of the atmosphere. Obviously, the flux from from the cosmos gets a bit stronger, and I built a little device that I can carry with me. It's just in a mint tin with a photodiode and some logging hardware. And I was having problems with the USB programmer. On my old laptop, it's fine, but on this laptop, the USB port implementation is obviously just different enough that the signaling voltages are wrong. And I left out some Xenodiodes in the circuit that I would have normally put in. I didn't have them at the time, and it just misbehaves with this. So I had to play with that today here. Valve loaned me a soldering iron and some Xenas so that I could get it running on this laptop.
Nice.
And it's just one of those cases where, it's digital, but the actual protocol is implemented using an analog voltage, and that was enough to mess it up.
Right.
So, guys like Alan are the exact kind of people you want on your zombie apocalypse team, because,
it's true.
He can figure out how to do things like monitor, cosmic ray radiation and, stuff that pretty much
or when
not
we're
that
flying
many
around in
people
our
out there
Zeppelin.
know how to do. He can do with hand him a pile of junk parts out of your
MacGyver style.
Yeah, literally, he can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I used to love MacGyver when I was a kid.
He's great, isn't he? Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, most of his stuff is completely insane, but as a kid, it was really awesome.
Paperclip, duct tape, and Skype. Quick, defuse a bomb. Actually, that's possible. Okay, but yeah, so we've just been talking over a potential answer. So most difficult project, or most, I don't know, frustrating, or I don't know.
This program is pretty darn frustrating. I can tell you that. It took me about an hour to get the darn thing to work properly for something that's so simple. I don't know. There's one project that I've kind of been doing for a while, and it's really actually quite simple. It's just a mixing signal generator that mixes the two VHF signals together and generates a like 0 to about 50 megahertz analog, RF signal generator
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I always seem to have problems with it, and then I give up on it for a while. It's not a particularly difficult circuit. I've had it lashed up, and it was generating what it was meant to generate. But the control loop, I tried building an ALC control loop for it to give me a constant settable amplitude as I vary frequency. And yeah, I had all kinds of problems with that. It took off and oscillated at odd frequencies, and yeah, it's just been annoying. So I've never really finished it and stuck it in the box. I guess you could say that's one of my more frustrating projects.
Sure.
I just need a good week, to sit down and iron out all the bugs, and I'm sure it'd be fine. But
Sure.
again, nowadays you probably just use, some kind of digital generator and probably buy one. I build a lot of my own test equipment,
Mm-hmm.
which some people find a bit strange, but once you've got a couple of reference standards, it's not too difficult, and you can save yourself a lot of money building your own gear, obviously. And it's also fun. You learn so much more than buying some beautiful piece of equipment. Admittedly, the lab grade stuff is awesome, and if you want accuracy and simplicity, then it's the way to go. And if you're doing something commercially, absolutely. But if you're just doing something for yourself, where the ballpark's good enough, and then particularly for ham operators where you've already got a nice receiver probably, which is a really great piece of test equipment if you know how to use it, then you can build a lot of your own gear.
Well, so let me ask, like, your stuff, from what I read or what I've managed to stalk down of you, like, you've done a lot of digital ham, like PSK 31 and such, but then you also have done a lot of homebrew gear, right? So, I mean, it must make it more difficult that you're like trying to get homebrew into as what's it called? What's that word? Narrow.
She's making hand signals at me. I have no idea what she's on about.
As like as specific a task as PSK 31. Does that make any sense whatsoever? Like, to me, if I were working with digital modes, I'd buy something. Like, I just buy the transceiver, right? If I were doing it via like a SSB phone, then I'd be more okay with doing it, or CW even. Then I'd be more okay with doing it by homebrew. But you're almost making homebrew stuff to do digital modes, which I find
I designed
pretty
a
impressive.
digital beacon. But yeah, it's digital again, analog. It's not a whole bunch of difference.
I guess
to me.
that's
It's
true.
Still a signal.
I guess that's true.
And a lot of the digital modes are fairly narrow bandwidth, so I mean, it's not really. I mean, that when you're designing a transceiver for that, it's actually can be kind of easier if it's really narrow.
Yeah,
I guess
certainly
that's
CW
true.
is very easy because
Right,
just turn
on off, right.
Bit of shaping, but yeah. PSK 31 obviously needs a fairly linear transmit system, so it's not terribly different. Once you've got an SSB or even a DSB, if you just ignore the other sideband, I know some people do that, transceiver working, then that works for you.
Yeah,
I mean, the DSB, the PSK 31 beacon that I built just generates the signal at baseband, and then it also generates the keying amplitude signal using a microcontroller, and then it keys the final. So it's like you said before, a bit of an analog cheat of a way to do something very simply that would otherwise you'd require a proper full-on SSB transceiver. This thing kind of short circuits that and doesn't have to go via that route. It can just use a modulation system that's, again, there's some maths involved, but once you understand it, it's a much simpler way to do it, I think.
gotcha. Now, were there any like specific experiments or references that you looked to or currently look to for designing your RF stuff, like, or any suggestions for anybody getting into it?
Oh yeah, there's one particularly good book. What's it called? EMRFD, Experimental Methods in Radio Frequency Design.
Okay.
That's a really good book. It kind of leads on from the solid state design from the radio amateur. I think was the book before that. I can't remember the gentleman's call sign or name at the moment. But he's obviously it was written by several amateurs, and they've done RF forever, and they're really quite good at it. They explain it really simply. There's all kinds of projects. The book has both practical projects and a lot of the theory about how to go about it yourself.
Okay.
So it's a really good book for learning. It goes from everything like, biasing transistors up to how mixers and filters work and how to design filters and how to build crystal filters and how to measure junk box crystals and use them to design filters. And it comes with a CD with some software as well, which I actually haven't investigated a lot of that. It looks pretty cool because it's got filter design software for you can plug in the values for the crystals that you've got in your junk box, and it will tell you how to use them.
Cool. Oh, I should pick that up. That sounds like a pretty good book.
Yeah, it is. It is a good book. There's other things. I've got this really old electronic, I think it's called Radio Engineer's Handbook or something. It's from the 1960s, and it's kind of at a time when valve and vacuum tube and solid state was kind of both just, sort of vacuum tube was tapering off and solid state was picking up. So it's got lots of interesting stuff in it. It's got all kinds of hyperbolic math tables, and it's a really cool book for just reference because it's most of the stuff in it's in metric in SI units, which might be bad for some American people, but I guess most people who do engineering here use SI for their engineering. I hope, because I'm going to be using SI, but anyway.
Right.
So, with you call it SI, right?
Metric.
So we just typically call it metric around here.
Yeah.
Got into a little bit of a fun discussion with somebody the other day. They're from, I think, the UK, maybe Canada or somewhere. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
One of them.
Not US.
Yeah.
So, somebody had set a temperature in Fahrenheit, and this person got irate. They were like, "You're stupid. You use Fahrenheit. What's wrong with you?" And I sort of went on a little bit of a spiel explaining exactly how much trouble you actually have to go to get an accurate base for your centigrade measurement. You got to get the mercury, you got to get it sea level. It's, all this stuff that has to be perfect to actually know that your centigrade is dialed in. And then
Fahrenheit's not.
Afterward, I said, real men use Kelvin.
That's true, but, it's the same slope. The intercept's just a bit different.
So, measurements are funny, and I think that, we've come up with interesting ways to solve that, and metric is obviously the most, it makes a lot of sense. But a lot of it is still based on things that are very human and very Earth-centric. If an alien species were to show up and try to figure out our measurement system, they might be a little bit confused.
Oh, yes. Yeah. From what I understand, that they're trying to translate most of the measurements into physical things that don't vary, if the universe is isotropic, which it appears to be. But I think the kilogram, they're now working on a standard that's based on some kind of, I can't remember, but it's I know they've got a silicon sphere based thing. I think at the moment it's a iridium platinum cylinder, but I think they're working on a silicon sphere that's based on what's Avogadro's number and a few other different things, and something that you can measure in a physical way. I think length is now based on a certain amount of wavelengths of a certain light from a particular kind of laser. I can't remember what.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's not based on that. The original meter was, I think it was based on something to do with the circumference of the Earth, wasn't it? Or the pole to the equator distance of the Earth?
Yeah, it was something along those lines.
Wow.
And they still have all those standards. I forget, where do they keep those? In Greenwich?
No, I think they're in France somewhere. Because the SI is...
Leave it to the French to keep the standards.
Well, So,
Whisker's got some French in him, so...
Now, I know we got a lot of questions to go through.
Right.
I didn't mean to distract there. I just thought that was a funny little anecdote.
No, that's okay. That's interesting though that they're starting to do it to like actual.
And there's a whole world based around that stuff. There
that's
really
very
is.
interesting. But if I have to learn another system besides metric and all that, no, I'm good.
I think you'd be pretty safe using metric around the crowd that you're going to be hanging out with. They'll understand you well enough.
Well, yeah. I mean, I use it at the hospital already.
Well, I meant Alan
the engineers
over there.
That's true.
You know, a lot of folks he's going to be working with probably get it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think your system is based on metric now anyway. I think they defined the inch to be 25.4 millimeters, for example.
Oh.
Yeah.
It makes sense to do it that way.
Fair enough. Gotcha. Okay. So this is a question actually from Mike Burr. I think it's Mike Burr anyway. I hope I'm giving appropriate attribution. So theoretically, if you wanted to build, and since we are ZombieTech, we also have to ask this. Theoretically, if you wanted to build an RF-based anti-zombie field to protect an area of about 2 square miles, what would you do?
I have to know a bit about zombies first. I mean, what don't they like?
They don't. I don't know if they not like anything.
Typically,
they don't like being kept from humans.
Are they repelled by pain?
No. They can lose limbs and still try to crawl towards you.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So, what are they attracted to then in humans? Was it uninfected?
So theoretically brains, but we've had a couple of doctors come on and tell us that it's highly improbable that a zombie could get into a brain because, we've got the skull thing going on. So guts. I mean, intestines are pretty
very seriously around here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to get
like spare parts or
yeah.
I think they're after the
extra protein.
Yeah, but I for whatever reason, the human variety of protein seems to be high up on their list of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't quite pinned down just yet because we have vegetarians, and what happens if they turn into zombies? Grains. I don't know. Jerry's still hung on that one, so.
Right. Okay. No. It sounds like a pretty hard thing to do. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, there's that pain field thing that the military's working on for dispersing crowds. But if pain doesn't worry the zombie, that could be a bit of a problem.
I mean, like instant death.
Yeah, the instant death ray kind of thing, like the Tesla style death ray might be the way to go. Maybe just a whole bunch of magnetrons. Go down to local wherever they sell microwaves here and buy a whole bunch of microwave ovens. Turn into a death ray. I don't know.
It's always very interesting when we get a chance to talk to Aussies.
You guys don't know much about zombies.
Yeah, it's always fascinating.
Why is that?
They just don't have the same morbid fascination with them that most people around here have.
I've always found the whole premise a bit crazy. I mean, okay, so it's some kind of infection, some virus, bacteria, whatever.
Right.
Okay, so it kills the person and then they rise again and reanimate them. So they are dead and they are continuing to decay.
Yeah.
So how does their muscles work? I mean, all of the basic cytoarchitecture of their muscles is going to break down. I don't see how they can continue to crawl towards you.
Yeah, in our discussions with various doctors over the last year, we've learned that it would be pretty impossible for them to actually be dead. They would have to be alive still, but with some sort of diminished mental capabilities to exhibit that kind of behavior.
And actually, I mean, if you think about a lot of the recent movies, you don't actually see them dying necessarily. You just see people getting bitten and then them becoming zombies. You don't actually see that they're actually dead, right?
Some of them yes, some of them no.
Right. So maybe they're starting to do the transition of like scientifically accurate zombies where they're actually not dead, but just in a state of.
But one way or another, they're made of
dyingness.
tissue, and Alan's microwave death ray would probably
Melt them.
Yeah.
Would it kill us too, though?
Yeah, probably. I would have to be real careful about it. Need like stand behind a big dish or something, and everything in that direction gets fried. And a big Faraday cage, basically.
Right. Okay, but right, you were telling us about how you feel about zombies. I I love it when you go on zombie rants, like anti-zombie rants on Twitter, because I'm like, now, Alan, we all know they're actually true. Why you gotta hate?
Okay, so maybe what you said is right. You can have an infection that, trashes their brain or whatever, or I mean, certainly things, for example, no, what's it called? That
Yeah,
infection that you get in your brain that makes you rabid dogs, rabies, like it
rabies.
affects your
Yeah,
behavior and makes you want to bite things, and the bite transmits it. So I could certainly see something like a super rabies virus that would do what you were talking about, where it takes over the host, trashes their brain, and makes them want to eat humans.
mm-hmm.
But their body would still function. But I think you do enough damage to their circulatory system, you're going to take away their ability to perfuse the rest of their body. And obviously, locally, the metabolism in their muscles is going to fail eventually. They're going to accumulate lactate and protons, and they're going to basically cramp up. I mean, I don't see that you need to actually destroy their CNS to stop them.
Yeah, a real zombie apocalypse. It doesn't seem medically that it would last for very long to me.
No, I think it'd burn through pretty quickly.
You mean people would just die too fast to really
Yeah.
get that?
And that's
spread.
why on this show many times I've said that the real problem isn't the zombies, it's your neighbors.
Yeah.
Why?
Because when, enough people get infected with something, smart people are left over, they stayed inside, they didn't wander out there, they didn't get bitten, whatever. And then you've got this sort of disaster situation where people don't necessarily have food in their house to last a month. And they decide that you might have some. So they show up and they're like, hey, buddy, give me your food.
Right.
And
I
that
guess
seems
that's
to me
true.
like that would be a much bigger problem in a real zombie apocalypse.
That's rather unfortunate about the state of humanity.
Well,
All right.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
no, that's probably the way it is. Like, particularly if the population has a whole bunch of weapons and you make do weapons pretty quickly. And I think, once people start to starve, I think it'd go downhill pretty quick.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
it would also come back pretty quick afterwards. Those sort of situations tend to sort themselves out pretty quickly. People like to work together at the end of the day. It makes it easier for everyone involved when we're not, trying to steal each other's refrigerators.
Well, as long as we have power, we'll see. Depending on whether or not the zombies, because one squirrel can totally take out a transformer for an entire neighborhood. Can you imagine what one zombie could do? Or 10 million? We're screwed.
They could do a lot of damage. I mean, if they're impervious to pain, they could just stay
Right?
there and
Just like hang out, like poke the wires. Poke, zzz, poke, zzz. And they'd stop. I mean, they'd be fine. Okay, all right. Whiskers like, move on. Okay, so I think was this last December? Last December or the December before? Gosh, I don't know. Time flies when you're having fun. But you did this advent calendar of circuits.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last December. And that was one circuit for like, was it the whole month of December or was it like 28 days or something like that?
24 days.
24 days.
Yeah, traditional Advent, or the season of Advent, I'm not religious, but from what I understand, it's actually a bit different to the like day 1 to day 24. But Advent calendars that you often see in Europe go from the 1st of December to December 24.
Okay. And what prompted that? How'd you come to decide to do that?
Oh, I've had the idea for a few years. I was actually thinking about doing it the year before, and I was just too busy. And well, not that I wasn't busy that year either, but yeah, it just never really happened. Advent calendars where you might get a little bit of chocolate or a little piece of a toy that you're assembling, so you get a piece each day. That was kind of my inspiration for that. That's a fairly common thing apparently in Europe. I don't know. I was introduced to the whole concept by my parents, and
Oh,
from
cool.
what I understand, yeah, it's just some European tradition. But it's obviously a Christian thing. Advent's a Christian holiday, but I thought it'd be something fun to do, something different. Originally, I was going to like present one piece of a circuit each day, and here's a bunch of components, and do a little bit about it. But it didn't seem like it was really that cool because, one circuit's not that difficult to come up with, and didn't think that I could talk about a resistor, for an entire 10 minutes or something. I
Sure.
probably could have, it turns out, but I thought, oh, well, let's go the whole hog and actually do a whole project each day. So I started, it gave me the opportunity to do a lot of things that I'd been thinking about for a while, but I hadn't really sat down and built. So I'd come home each day, rush home from work, and it was actually really hectic at work. We were doing this really big project and spend a couple of hours getting it all madly done and filmed and I started uploading to YouTube and then go and sleep and wake up and do it again the next day. So
Mm-hmm.
it was quite a marathon. Yeah, and then also my wife got sick in the middle of it, which made it kind of difficult, and we ended up being a couple of days late because of that. But
Sure.
in the end, we got there.
Yeah. Are you thinking of doing it again this year?
Am I crazy enough to put myself through that again?
Because a project a day is, I mean, that's a little nutters. I think anyway. I mean, it's enough for me to like get one done
a lot of
a
those
week.
ended up on YouTube. Right?
Yeah, all of them. I think, right?
You actually caught up and got all of them up there?
Yep. Yeah, they're all
Awesome.
up there, all 24. I think the last one was only a couple of days late. It might have been just after Christmas that I finally got number 24 up there. But 24 was the solution to that 3-switch problem.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, I
Yep.
remember
Yeah,
that.
it had been floating around the net for ages. I mean, I pretty much knew straight away how the guy did it once I saw the video and I saw that where he touched it, one of the LEDs momentarily came on, so I knew straight away that it was probably some kind of high frequency signal.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me ages to sit down and actually solve it in hardware, and my implementation's kind of terrible. I mean, you've probably seen the video where he solders it, and it's some pretty awesome SMD soldering freehand style. If anyone hasn't seen that video, they should go find it on YouTube where he shows how he actually does it. It's pretty awesome.
Yep.
And you guys, if you haven't seen Alan's videos, you probably should. What's the channel?
VK2ZAY is my YouTube handle, so it's my call sign.
Yep.
It's obviously linked off my website, although my website I believe is currently
down.
broken. Yeah, I think there was a power failure last night, and it took out my my hosting server, so it's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle. It's late enough now. I'll call up a bit after this and get them to turn it back on.
Well, I mean that's okay. You know, there's enough cool stuff just from like Wayback Machine that I could.
Should be all fixed up by when this goes online Thursday. So.
Yep. Oh yeah, no, it'll definitely be back up. It's one of those annoying things. I spent so much time before I came over here building redundancy into my network and everything, but the kind of Murphy's Law, you don't think of something and it breaks when you're away, and
Yep.
I'll fix it up when I get back, no doubt, and try and work out what actually screwed up this time and fix it.
Cool. Sounds
well,
good.
guys, we're nearly out of time here. And there's a couple of questions that we always ask every guest.
I'm so sad because there are so many other cool questions that people want to ask.
We've only got an hour.
What do I do? I don't know. I kind of want to send these to you and have you answer them anyway. But just kidding.
Yeah, sure, if you like.
Yeah?
Just feed him to him on Twitter when he looks bored. And
maybe I should do that. Yeah.
He'll do his traditional Alan tweets 70 times in a row. Blows up everybody's Twitter. It's awesome.
All right, but we do have our actual ZombieTech questions. The rest of it was just a practice. So what 3 tools would you bring to the zombie apocalypse bunker?
This should be good.
I know it should be.
What 3 tools would I bring? Ooh, it's a question of what is already there. I guess definitely I would bring my Leatherman. Knife, screwdriver, blah blah blah, etc. I'd bring a soldering iron, and
now we do have those 2 things, just to let you know.
Well, yeah, but he's answering for an unknown situation.
Okay.
To rebuild society.
All right.
Alan only needs a Leatherman, a soldering gun.
I was going to say duct tape, but I think a bucket might actually be useful.
A bucket. We have not heard bucket yet, I don't think.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it can carry liquids. It can carry stuff around. It's like a general purpose bag,
A
but it's
bucket's
also
pretty
used-
darn handy thing.
Actually, that's yeah. Now that I think about it, cool. Okay, all right. I'll take that.
Instantaneously, I can think of 75 things that buckets are good for. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
a really good one.
So Leatherman.
So society, you are not doomed
Crap,
because
what
you
was-
have Leatherman, you have soldering iron,
Right.
and you have buckets.
Defuse a bomb and make a RF based defense thing
And then
against
play
zombies.
street music afterwards.
Correct.
Yeah.
We can do
I guess
that.
I should really have said crowbar, but
Well, that's okay. We got those two. We actually currently have Tesla coils as a part of our defense system.
I think
A lot of treadmills.
When we
and
get Jerry on, I
super
think she's
high-powered
got the
fans.
crowbar
yeah, she
reserved,
does.
I think.
That's
so,
true. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And what book would you bring to the zombie apocalypse bunker?
oh, what book would I bring? Ooh, probably that book I mentioned before. That's pretty awesome for building just about anything electronic.
Okay.
Yeah,
The one.
the EMRC,
Okay.
probably. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Good. Then I don't have to buy it. All right, zombies. Let's go. I got free books to get. All right. Well, those are it. Those are our two actual ZombieTech questions.
Yeah. So, you're heading back to Sydney to do the whole
Visa thing.
reset your visa and hang out some
Yeah.
more. And what's going to happen to all your stuff, man? I know you got tons.
Yes, I do have tons, and I've got an apartment I've applied for an apartment here, so the apartment probably won't fit all of it. I mean, it could physically fit all of it, but probably quite a bit of it I wouldn't be allowed to take here. But some of the chemicals, etc., I think will probably have to stay in Australia. But I'll probably bring over all my electronics and some of my equipment. Obviously, a lot of it runs on 240 and won't work here on 110. Some of it has universal power supplies, and I could bring over.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll probably get it shipped over in a nice slow ship and get it, 20 weeks later or something. It's quite a long haul apparently getting stuff from Australia to the US.
Yeah.
Understandably. So, Alan Garfield, John Dowdell, Dave Jones. Alan won't be home for a couple days yet. You still got time to get over there. Hoard his pile, his absolute like crazy collection of cool stuff, and
And the moving.
make it a little bit lighter for him to get moved.
Right. There you go.
I'll have to get past all the man traps and the killer bird and the other things that I've got there.
All right, that's all the time we have for this week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Oh, Addie's got something.
I got one more thing. You
One
can
more thing.
find all of Alan's stuff on vk2zay.net once it's up again. And he's also on Twitter as the same handle, and pretty much everywhere else as the same
Yeah.
vk2zay.
Yeah, it's Z
So-
here, Alan, not a Z. So
Oh, it's a Z.
But you
It's,
can't take that away from me.
yeah, it's one of them things. So yeah,
Okay, so I'm good. That's it.
we got the Z thing taken care of. Z
Yeah.
for zombie, and look the right way when you cross the street.
Please.
All right. So you guys
Alrighty.
can find this show every week on Thursday, ZombieTech.tv. That's it for us. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.